here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to another Sunday chat. To be fair, it is Sunday. It is Sunday at 8:50. I did not film Sunday chat on yesterday like I typically would because I just couldn't think of anything to talk about. I'm quite literally sick of talking about like dating and career and stuff like that. And I know that the Shannon Sharpe situation is trending right now. I've made videos on TikTok about that. I did a podcast episode on my Substack podcast, which is subscription based, about that. And we've talked about dating in a roundabout way the last couple weeks in Sunday chat. So I did not want to talk about dating. Plus, I'm so glad that I made that decision. We're gonna do I went to my Instagram basically, and I asked them to ask me questions to talk about. And I gave specific instructions not to ask about dating or career. Like we've talked ad nauseum for the moment about those things. So like, what are some other things that y'all want to hear my thoughts, opinions, whatever on? So that's what we're gonna do in this video. But let me just tell y'all, I am 3 high. Again, it's Sunday morning. I went on my run earlier. I got done at about 7:30. I've taken a shower. I straightened my hair out a little bit because I invited my friend to Expo. It's the last day of Expo Chicago. I had a VIP like ticket where I can get in every day with a guest. So I haven't gotten a response from him, but I just went ahead and straightened my hair out just in case he wanted to go, so I could just like throw on a little face and head out the door, maybe get like some dinner or something, some lunch, I'm sorry, or something like that. Anyway, so at least my hair is done, but I am like in my robe, no makeup, no anything. But I was saying I'm so annoyed because I made a video on the Shannon Sharpe thing, and I was also saying that I'm happy that I decided not to talk about relationships on my TikTok, and it's gone like I think it's over 500,000 views, which I guess is not semi-viral, it's viral, right? And I was talking about the Shannon Sharpe situation in relation to the conversation that Tracee Ellis Ross just had with Michelle Obama and Craig on their podcast about why she dates a little younger or whatever. She never, that's all, we're not talking about that. Let me slow down, Savannah. Slow down. Anyway, and she specifically said that she doesn't, you know, typically she doesn't date men her age, or she finds herself dating men a lot younger because the men her age are, you know, they're stuck in this old like patriarchal way of thinking. You know, they're misogynist, they're homophobic, they just tend to not really, you know what I'm saying, have progressed with the times, and like that's a deal breaker for her. A week later, the shit happens with Shannon Sharpe. So I make a video and I say, and you wonder why Tracee Ellis Ross and presumably, you know, Regina King and Regina Hall and, you know, women like Nia Long and Sanaa Lathan and, you know, all of these women are single because the men that are their age mates in their proximity do shit like Shannon Sharpe. I didn't say black men. Now I use Shannon Sharpe as an example because we're talking about them being single in context of what Shannon Sharpe is going through and how it relates to what Tracee Ellis Ross was just talking about. But I never said black men in their proximity. I said men, right? Now, men is all inclusive in my eyes. I didn't think that I needed to break that down. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself, right? So I make this video, and then it's a woman on TikTok or whatever. Her content is basically stitching, you know, reality TV or other people contents, whatever, and then talking about relationship in the context of the videos that she stitched or records, because my stitches and my downloads are off because I don't like for people to stitch my videos or download because they typically are taking it out of context, or I don't want people to take my stuff out of context. But at the end of the day, when you post stuff on the internet, it no longer belongs to you. You can't control what people do with it, right? So, you know, it's annoying that she screen recorded my shit and made a video, but there's not anything I can really do. But that's just the name of the game. My issue is she took my shit out of context. So she recorded my video and then she made a video and was like, you know, basically like, this is the issue. They're not, Tracee Ellis Ross and Regina Hall and Regina King, they aren't single because of the men in their proximity. They're single because they won't open their self up to other races. You know, black women are too hell-bent on dating black men. They don't want to open up because they think, you know, white men or other men can't relate to them, and, you know, giving all of these examples. And I'm like, first of all, right? So I left a comment. I'm like, first of all, I didn't say shit about race. So don't take my video out of context to try to prove your point. You could have just made your video, right? Because I didn't say anything about race. I said men in their proximity, their age mates. There are white men, Asian men, Middle Eastern men in Hollywood that are their age mates that are having these same issues. You know what I'm saying? So like, I didn't say black men. I didn't say that, right? This wasn't even a race thing. If you wanted to make the point that you wanted to make, you could have just made it, right? And then, you know, relating it to black women or their own issues. They don't want to open up. Like, a white man or an Asian man or a man of another, it's the great non-black saviors. All men have issues. Do you not watch content of women of other races? Like, none of these, like, everybody has their issue, right? But even still, my thing is, people form their opinions, their thoughts, you know, their standards, all of that based off of their experiences. I've said this in videos before. So while I don't follow that woman, but when she comes down my For You page, I do consume like a lot of what she's saying. And a lot of times I agree with her. Sometimes I agree differently with her. She gives He-Man woman hater vibes. Like, she hate men vibes, right? And, you know, she'll say, I don't hate men. I have a great father. I have a great da-da-da. But like, if I was a man looking at her content, I would be like, you hate me. But it is what it is, right? I'm not a He-Man woman hater. I'm not stupid about men. I have my opinions about things that go on, but I'm also not a He-Man woman hater. That's not my experience. So a lot of the things that you say, I may agree with you or agree differently, but it's also not my personal experience. Now, I do happen to be a black woman that does prefer to date black men and exclusively date black men, and will not open herself up to anybody else because I don't want to. It ain't got nothing to do with what a white man or Asian man or a Middle Eastern man or a Mexican man understands about me. It ain't got nothing to do with none of that, right? It could be a part of it, but it's mostly because I don't want to. I like black men. That's what I'm attracted to. That's who I want to sleep with. That's who I want to build a life with. That's who I want to, you know, spend my time with. That's who I want to get to know. So that's what I do, right? And my experience with only dating black men is fine. The men that I prefer me. Now, it may not be your experience that the men you prefer you. And that may be because of, you know, internalized racism and all that type of stuff. I'm not negating that, right? So what you're saying isn't untrue, right? Because that's your experience. So therefore, it makes it true for you. But your experience and your feelings is in fact, because it isn't for me. There isn't a black man that I haven't wanted that I haven't gotten. Okay? 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 So don't, like, my only issue don't take my shit out of context to make a point. You could have made the point without my shit, because it's apples and oranges, right? Or maybe it's oranges and tangerines. It's or lemons and limes. It's kind of in the same family. It's a citrus, but that's not what I was saying. That shit pissed me off. Anyway, we're going to get into the questions. What we're here for. It's a lot of them. Look, somebody is like, what happened to Sunday chat, friend? I'm in my Instagram trying to get the messages. Hold on. What? Let me hold on. I'm finna call you out. Tiara, how I knew it was you? I'm filming it right now. Hold on. Wait, why is my volume on? I'm filming it right now. I'm going to edit it. It up immediately. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Okay, let me get my questions back up. Now, like I said, in the questions post that I made on Instagram, I specifically said, don't ask me nothing about men. Don't ask me nothing about career. Unless you absolutely need to, then I'll oblige. But if you can, don't. I should have also added personal style and like fashion on there as well. Because I feel like I don't have a tangible answer for people as it relates to like how you develop your, you know, personal style. I don't have a step 1, step 2, step 3, right? about how to develop personal style and things like that. I say that your personal style is a reflection of your lifestyle in general, right? The things that you do, the things that you enjoy, the music you listen to, the books you read, the art you like, the hobbies you have, the environment you're in. I think all of that plays a part in your personal style and who you are. And when you are getting dressed in the morning, you ought to think about all of those things, and then also how what you wear fits within the environment of the things that you have to do every day. And then also, is what you're wearing communicating to people, you know, what you want them to know about you without you having to open your mouth, right? So when I get dressed or when I buy things, I always think about, like, is this going to relay to people what I want them to think about me before I open my mouth, right? Because I know that people like to say that, you know, clothes aren't important and that type of stuff is trivial, but it's kind of what people first, your appearance is what people, when they don't know you, it's all they have to go by. And so I do think that those things are pretty important. So like when I get dressed in the morning, I think about, you know, one, my lifestyle and what I have to do, and two, who I say that I am, right? And how I want to reflect that to people and how I want them to perceive that. So I know this is going to go directly against the idea of like not caring what people think about you, but I think two things. One, really think about who you are in context of your everyday life, your environment, the things that you enjoy, and what that tells you about yourself and how you want to convey that to yourself through your clothing. And then also what you want it to convey to other people. What do you want people's perception to be about you when they see you, right? And again, I know that goes against it. I don't care what people say about you, but I do want people to perceive me in the way that I am trying to present myself, right? So I often tell people my personal style is like an elevated casual style, right? I'm a very laid back person. I'm super chill, but I also am ridiculous and bougie, and you know what I'm saying, will do ridiculous things at sometimes. So yeah, I might have on a white t-shirt and a pair of denim, but it might be a $400 t-shirt with a cutout in the back because, you know, I can be ridiculous, but I'm also like chill, right? You may not know that it's a $400 t-shirt, but it's a $400 t-shirt, and that has nothing to do with it being name brand, right? But just the concept of it, I look super casual, but up close, I'm extra as fuck, right? And so that's what I like to portray in my personal style, and I think I do that pretty well, and that's sort of reflected in my decor, that's reflected in my hobbies, that's reflected in my routine, that's reflected in, you know, pretty much everything that I do in life. So that's how I approach personal style. Hopefully that helps. I told y'all it wasn't going to be really tangible in that way. I have some other like personal style stuff. Key items every girl should have in their closet. I think that again varies depending on your personal style, right? So for me, in my personal style, I have to have at least a brown leather jacket, a black leather jacket, plenty of denim because I love jeans, plenty of t-shirts, right? Big t-shirts, little t-shirts, crop t-shirts, sleeveless t-shirts, because you know that is, if all else fails, I'm gonna throw on jeans and a t-shirt. I tend to like a statement shoe. Almost all of my shoes are statement shoes because the rest of my wardrobe is pretty, you know, casual with a little bit of oomph, right? And so I don't wear a lot of accessories. I don't wear jewelry. I don't, you know, or anything like that. So my shoes, my jackets, you know, my sunglasses, stuff like that, that's my accessories. So a statement shoe is something that is that's something that I have to have in my wardrobe. But you may have other people that don't need a statement shoe to make their wardrobe work for them. You may have people that say you have to have, I see people say all the time, jewelry is what makes an outfit. Accessories, actual accessories. I don't wear accessories, right? But for some people, those are staples. So again, I really do just think a baseball cap is a staple. Like I have to have a couple baseball caps, specifically black and white or like navy blue and white. Have to have them in my wardrobe. That's not a necessity for people, but those make my wardrobe work. Those are key pieces in my wardrobe. So I'm saying all that to say, it really just depends on your personal style and the things that are going to play like a key role in pulling your outfits together. Sometimes I'll have an outfit, I'm like, something that's missing, I'll throw on that Yankee Kith cap and I'm like, perfect, right? So I just think it depends. I don't think that there's a like, I mean, there are lists out there: a trench coat, a leather coat, a white t-shirt, a good pair of denim, you know, there a good white t-shirt. Like, there are lists like that, a pair of ballet flats. I mean, you can follow that list if you want to, but like, is that really your personal style? I think you should take the time to develop your own staples for your own wardrobe that works for your own personal style. Other personal style stuff. Favorite places to shop: Farfetch, Outnet, Essence. Tons is a boutique store in Pittsburgh. Nordstrom is my number, specifically the Nordstrom here in Chicago on Michigan Avenue. But I am a department girl store, so I'm gonna look at Nordstrom, I'm gonna look at Neiman's, I'm gonna look at Saks, I'm gonna look at Bloomie's. You know, I'm going to Net-a-Porter, which is not a retail store, it's an online store, but Net-a-Porter. Matches RIP. Matches is not here anymore. But stores like that. So that's typically where I shop. Also like Set Tire, places like those where I can get, you know, some of my pieces for a little less, because it's kind of like a Farfetch in that it's a bunch of luxury boutiques around the world, and they tend to have, like, when they have low inventory, they mark it down really low, even if it's like new season stuff. And so you could get some new season stuff for low because, you know, they are low in inventory. That's a little nugget for you. So places like those are where I typically shop. And then for like non-luxury stuff, Zara, COS, H&M, places like those, like everybody else. What else? How do I stay ahead of trends while keeping my personal style authentic? I don't really play into trends. I wear what I wear. I like what I like. And if there's a trend that I feel like fits well within my personal style, I will, you know, partake in it. But there hasn't really been a trend here lately where I felt the need to really partake in. I've had things that have been a part of my personal style become a trend, and so people think, oh, you know, I'm playing as a trend. Like, I think I said this on TikTok not too long ago, where I, for a long time, was a strictly heel girl, and the only sneakers I would buy would be what I would consider classic sneakers. So like a Samba, a Air Force One, a Chuck 70, a New Balance 997. Like, those are the shoes, only sneakers that I would have. A Gazelle. Those are the only sneakers that I would have in my wardrobe. And then Sambas exploded, right? And then you have people on the internet like, oh, Sambas are played out. I'm like, I've been wearing Sambas for years. You're not gonna tell me Sambas played out because they got on trend and y'all wore them out, and now y'all tired of seeing them, and now y'all telling me, a person that been wearing Sambas for years, been wearing Gazelles for years, that is out of style. So I don't really pay attention to trends like that. But again, if I see one and it fits within my personal style, I'll adopt it, and I'll probably not let it go if it's something that I really like. Culottes. Culottes was one trend that came back into style like 3 years ago, and it's still kind of on trend. Like, you can still find culottes. Baby, I've been buzzing them culottes down ever since. They never leave it. They never leave it. I don't know why I ever stopped wearing them. Capris too. Actually, you know, I don't know if y'all follow Rana on TikTok, but Rana was like, I never ever stopped wearing capris. I'm talking about true capris that like come to your knees. I will never not have a pair of capris in my wardrobe ever again, because why did I ever stop wearing them? They are so sexy with like a mule or something like that. So that's typically how I approach trends. Okay, I feel like that's enough on personal style, because I feel like this video gonna be long as hell. Do I have any summer wish list items? No, I have wish list items, but nothing specifically for summer. I just have wish list items in general. I'll have to go look at some of my wish lists because I can't call them off the top of my head. Maybe that'll be another video. We'll look at that in another video, like an updated luxury wish list. I'll keep that in mind to do, since I am running out of ideas to talk about. Let's see. Give us some fun facts about you. I feel like y'all know everything about me. Fun fact, I can sing. I could sing. I can still hold a note depending on the song. It's true what they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. When I was younger, I had the craziest, biggest voice ever. Don't know where that came from, because I am the only person in my family that had like the voice that I had. But I would like sing in church, of course, but also like in school programs, stuff like that. I was a part of a singing group in elementary school called the Four Chocolates and Vanilla. Four Chocolates and Vanilla. I was a chocolate, which there's this conversation about what's dark skin and what's not dark skin, baby. In the 90s, when I was in elementary school and junior high school, I was dark skinned. So I was one of the four chocolates, okay? And so I used to sing in like talent shows and school programs and stuff like that. And one time I was asked to sing the national anthem at a minor league baseball game. And my mother, my sweet darling mother, said no, because she was the fun police and she said no to everything. So that's a fun fact about me. What's something that has been bringing you joy lately? My routine, right? The mundane. I just have a really, really good life. And I find myself almost on a daily basis just being like, oh my God, thank you, right? I don't have any stressors. I don't have any worries. I don't have any problems, no drama. My job is cool. My apartment is cool. My finances is cool. Like everything is working together for my good. And I haven't had any like ginormous like goal achievements, but I have for the last 3-4 years been able to just 5 really, even before the pandemic, been able to maintain this level of comfortability. Woo, that's a big word for Elmo. Man, it took me until I was 28 to start feeling, and then I lost it again at 31 when I decided to move to Chicago. And had to gain it all back, like start over from scratch. And so it has just been bringing me joy to wake up every morning and get to live in that, right? And so the mundane is just making me happy, and it's making it that more easy, much more easy to like take risk, right? And have big goals and change my mind. You know, change my mind when things don't work, or, you know, if I decide I want to do something different or want to pivot into a different idea. So I am in such a great space in life, and I am grateful. Like I have everything I need and a lot of what I want. And like, I can't thank God enough. I simply cannot thank God enough. I don't think y'all understand. Well, maybe y'all do understand how it is to like go from a life full of survival. You're doing things because you have, like you don't have no other choice, right? And you know, I'm tenacious and I'm a go-getter and I got my head down and I'm disciplined because I don't have no choice. If I don't make this thing work, I'm screwed. To being able to do things because you have a choice, by choice, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing, man. So that's what's bringing me joy lately. How has my body changed in my 40s? Girl, where do I start? No, really, I started really paying attention to just like my overall health in my early 30s because I woke up with skin lupus. Like, you know what I'm saying? So when you have a situation where you are presumably healthy and then you wake up 30 years in your life with autoimmune deficiencies that you didn't know that you had, it's a scary thing. So I have been, you know, getting a yearly physical and getting blood work and, you know, keeping up with my rheumatologist and all that type of stuff for the last decade. Because that was scary to me. But other than that, I hadn't had any really big like body changes until until here recently, and most of them are aesthetic. Like I've had I just had my first mammogram. I am still trying to get in with the doctor that I want to get my physical, so I haven't gotten any blood work other than like getting STD testing and stuff like that, because I did go to the gynecologist. Of course I'm all good there, because girl, I'm playing no games, right? But and I still need to find a new rheumatologist, so I haven't done that yet. But most of what I know now is the changes are physical, other than like perimenopause, like symptoms. They're starting to kick in now. Last year, I wasn't really, toward the end of last year, I would say they started to kick in. So like hot flashes, and I'm lethargic, and I'm tired, and I'm aloof, and I gotta do brain training activities. I'm playing Sudoku and stuff like that, and then because I'm finding that I'm not as sharp as I need to. But other than that, which is pretty typical for our age, right, for early perimenopause, but physically, right, as somebody who has had a consistent like workout and wellness routine for the last almost 15 years, my body, like I got injured running my marathon last year, or preparing for the marathon last year, and so I ended up picking up I typically will pick up weight in the wintertime, because girl, the snacks and the food and stuff just be too good. So I'll typically pick up between maybe 5 and 7 pounds over the wintertime, and at the top of the year I'm like, okay, it's time to get the 5 to 7 pounds off. This time, because I hadn't been, I had still been consistent in my workouts and activity, I hadn't been able to do as much as I typically do, because I was injured, and I was also nursing an injury. And so I gained 10 to 15 pounds, maybe like 17. And so I've found myself out of a maintenance. Like I typically just work out for routine and maintenance. It's just a part of my day, and just to maintain the body that I have, to actually having to try to lose weight. And when I was younger, it was so easy to like, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds in 30 days, and it was easy. If I just worked consistently and ate right, I could get back to a maintenance and then maintain that. Nah fam, I got back from Napa the week of my birthday. My birthday was March 19th. I have been consistently eating clean. Like I've had a few glasses of wine here and there out like socially and stuff like that, but no alcohol, no processed carbs, no breads, no sugar, like none of that shit. Pretty consistently since March 19th. Baby, you might as well say it's May. I'm still fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Now I am I even added an additional bar class that's like a strength training. I upped my cardio. Like I've done everything, and I am like the weight is inch, like I can see the inches coming off, but not like it used to. So that's one of the biggest changes. Also, I have cellulite on the back of my legs. It wasn't there at the top of the year, and now I have like dents in my back of my leg and in my thighs that I'm just like, okay, I have cellulite now. I quite literally have never had that before. And I don't know if it's because of the weight loss, because of the weight gain, and now I'm losing the weight, and so it's showing up, like loose skin or whatever, but it's there. I'm like, oh well, it is what it is. It's a part of aging. I'm not gonna kill myself over no stretch marks. I mean, it is what it is. You get older or you die. That's my thought process. So those are definitely some changes that I'm noticing in my body as I am getting older. Okay, a couple more. Someone asked, which countries have I had positive experiences in as a Black woman traveling solo, and what country would I consider relocating to, either short-term or long-term? Here's the thing. I'm not well-traveled. I'm not well-traveled yet. I am just at a point where I am out of this scarcity mindset, and I am allowing myself to spend money on, you know, experiences like traveling and things like that. For a long time, I would be like, oh, if I spend all that money on traveling, you know, what if something happens? What if something comes up and I spent, because it ain't cheap, right? When I think back to Spain, I probably spent almost $5,000 on hotels alone. Now my flight I got for points, and then all the money I just spent doing it. Because one thing about me, I don't give a fuck about no price if I'm like traveling and, you know, I'm giving myself experiences. So it's not cheap, right? But for a long time I was afraid to do that. Now I wouldn't have that same thought process about spending it on clothes or like shoes and stuff like that, because it was tangible and I could see it. And to me that just made more sense. And I finally got to the point where I was like, well, you can have both. You could do both. Maybe not, you won't be able to do both as much, but like you can do both. Excuse me. So I'm not as well traveled as a lot of people my age. I'm just starting to do, you know, yearly out of the country trips and stuff like that. And for me, that cadence works for me. You know, I have one big out of the country trip, maybe the two in the year, maybe in the summer, maybe at the end of the year. And that works for me, my budget, my, you know, what I can afford, you know, all of that type of stuff. And also be able to afford all of the other little things that I like to buy. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I say all of that to say, I actually haven't traveled out of the country alone. I always plan my trips solo, but I always extend the invitation to one of my best friends from back home, one of my childhood best friends, because she's also not well traveled. And that was a goal of both of ours, right? Is to start allowing ourselves to spend on experiences, because she's also like me. Like, she is, baby, she even more, she is luxury. Like, she love a bag, she love a good shoe, she love a good luxury purchase, whatever the case may be. And we were both sort of the like carry, like, I like my money where I can see it, in my closet. And so we both wanted to like get out of that mindset, that scarcity mindset of like, if we don't see it, then it's a waste, or we, you know, if we spend that and that, then we won't have, or something might happen, whatever the case may be. And it's really up to what's important for you. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, some people will be like, I don't care about clothes, I only want to travel. No, I care about both. So I have to, like, you know, work within my budget to afford both. Because yes, we going on a trip, but also what are we wearing on the trip? Like, that's important to me. So I say all of that to say, I haven't gone solo traveling out of the country because my best friend is always like, yeah, I'm coming. So, or I've been to like Mexico or something like that on a birthday trip or a girls trip, or, you know, something like that, or a bachelorette trip. So I haven't traveled solo, but I've only been to out of the country, Mexico and Europe. I'll be going to Portugal at the end of the year. But I had fine experiences in all of the countries that I went to. I went to London, I went to Paris, I went to Barcelona, I went to Madrid. It was fine. Like, I didn't have any issues. If I could live in one of those places, it would be London. I loved London, and I actually plan on going back. I have a week off in the summer, even though London pissed me off, because I went to London July 4th weekend last year and it was so cold. So I'm almost not wanting to spend my July 4th weekend in London again this year, to be freezing my ass off. But I'm thinking about, because I don't have a destination, and I'm thinking about going back to London, because I spent some days in London and then I went to Paris, and I want to exclusively stay in London because I loved it so much and I could live there. I was like, as soon as I touched it, I was like, oh, I could live here. You know how people say people go places and they immediately be like, I could stay here, but no, I could really live in London. So I do want to go back and spend some more time in London, but I'm also feeling like I need a proper vacation. I'm not a vacation girl. So like, I'm gonna choose a city in a country, like I said, London, Paris, Barcelona, Madrid, like, you know, I'm going to choose a city, Lisbon, anytime over a Jamaica, you know, anything like that, because I'm not a water girl. I don't like to be hot, I don't like the sand, I don't like bugs. I'm just not, if I'm being quite honest. But I do think there comes a time when you need a proper vacation like that, where you just laying around and you eating, sleeping, laying by the water, eating, sleeping, laying by the water. So I don't know if I'm going to do, you know, a city, or if I'm going to go, you know, on a proper vacation. So I haven't had any bad experiences traveling out of the country, but I haven't been very many places. So check back in a couple years and I'll let you know. But as far as like solo traveling, I love it. Like anytime I go like stateside, I'm almost always by myself, and I love it. New Orleans is my favorite place to travel solo. If you've never traveled solo before, you just kind of want to get a feel of traveling solo, New Orleans is a perfect place to travel solo to. I love traveling to Miami by myself. I feel like Miami is another great place to travel solo to. I love traveling to New York solo. I think it's a great, but I also have a bunch of like contacts in New York as well. That's a great place to travel solo to. So hopefully that answered the question. I forgot where I was going with that. I be losing my train of thought because I just be talking. Okay, the last question, and then I gotta go because my homeboy did confirm that he wants to go to the art expo. So we're gonna get ready to go back to the art expo, which is fitting because the last question was, how did I get into the arts? And I've always been a creative person, right? And I think a lot of times when people think about the arts, they think about drawing and painting and music and stuff like that, which is, but art is all around us. Art is in our everyday lives. And I was a very imaginative child, right? I would make up stories in my head. I've talked on here before about how I always felt kind of left out in my sibling dynamic. I just didn't feel like I had a lot in common with my older siblings, and my younger sibling didn't come along until I was 6 years old, and almost 6 years old, and she was quite younger than I was. Like, you know, now as adults, I feel like we are close enough in age where we understand each other, but when we were younger, I was too old. And so I would use my imagination. I would write stories, you know, I would like use my toys to make up like imaginary like lands and shit like that, and that's art, right? And so I've always loved reading. I've always loved watching TV and like movies and stuff like that. So I've always had an interest in art. So I've always been interested in the arts. I've always felt like art was always around me. And when I went to college, I actually majored in journalism, and I wanted to be a writer. But I wanted to be a creative writer, right? And so, you know, journalism was just a way to get, you know, technical writing skills and things like that. But I wanted to be a creative writer. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to write books. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And even in journalism, I didn't want to be a news journalist. I wanted to be like a pop culture, a like society style like journal. Like, I wanted to be on red carpets. I wanted to be amongst the arts. I didn't want to be telling y'all news about the upcoming presidential election. That was never like, you know, my interest. Again, like I said earlier, I could sing. So I've always loved art and artists and things like that. Now, as it relates to like art and culture and things like that, I've always loved it. I've always like, whenever I needed to like recenter, whenever I needed to recenter, whenever I felt like my nervous system needed regulating, I would go to a bookstore like Barnes and Nobles, and just like, because I couldn't really afford to buy all the magazines, and I would like spend all day just looking at the images in the magazines. Or I would go to like local museums and art galleries and just walk around, because 9 times out of 10 it was free, especially if like you were a student. And to be honest, I didn't really know what drew me to it, other than when I was in those spaces, it was calming, it was meditative. It felt like my nervous system was being regulated, like in this space where, you know, other people's creativity was being displayed. And like I said, a lot of times I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at, but I was really trying to use critical thinking to like figure out like what I was looking at. So it makes you critically think. It gives you a insight into other people's imagination, And to be honest, I still don't have all of the language for, let's say, like the style of art I like. I think that there is a theme in what I like, but it's one of those things where like I know what I like when I see it. And so I'm no expert by any means, but I do consume art a lot by like actually going and consuming art. And also I consume art as I can, not at the scale that I would like to. Like I would love to get to a point where I could buy 1 or 2 original pieces a year. One of my goals, like in the near future, is to buy an original like small piece of art. All of my art now are prints, which is fine in my opinion. Like it's just as special, it's just as meaningful. In some aspects it can be valuable as well. Janae actually has a really good episode on, or video on her YouTube page that she did recently, where she was talking about all of the art in her home, and she was answering questions about how she selects art and what draws her to art. And she actually went and interviewed a art gallerist, like a owner of a gallery. It was a Black woman, and she sort of talked about, you know, how to get into buying art and things like that, and what to look for when you buy art. And basically her advice would be exactly what mine is. Like if you're going to purchase stuff that speaks to you. My favorite collection of art that I have are, these are 3 of them. I have 3 more that I need to get framed. I'm actually going to get Rihanna reframed as well, but it's a series from the artist Christina Martinez. She goes by Sew Trill, S-E-W Trill on Instagram, and this is called Giving Flowers. So essentially these are artists and athletes and just people of influences, mainly Black people, right, of influences in our time and in moments of time that you want to remember, right, that I want to remember. So you have Andre 3000, his latest release for his album, his instrumental album. You have Beyonce during Renaissance. You have Rihanna during her first pregnancy. You have Serena. I have one of Sha'Carri Richardson after she won her won in the Olympics. Did she win a gold? I think she won a gold. And then I just got one of Kendrick Lamar that she created, you know, from the visuals of like this last album. So those are things where as I get older, I am going to be able to look at that and like remember a specific moment in time. And so that's for me what art does, and it has always done that since I was a little girl, and that's what draws me to it. I have a piece that I picked up just walking on the streets in Madrid, and every time I look at that piece, that's another piece that I have to get framed. I have so much art I need to get framed. I don't even want to think about how much it's going to cost. But every time I look at that piece of art, it's going to remind me of the time that I was just dilly-dallying around the streets of Madrid and walked up on this street artist and loved that piece and I bought it, right? And so that's how I got into it. That's why I really love it. And I'm a part of a group called Early Work, and essentially it is a collective, a arts and culture collective, and we get early access to artists and arts and cultural events in the city, and we get to like listen to a lot of like artist talks. We get to do like collector visits. We get to go to galleries and stuff, and we get to hear people talk about creating art, consuming art. And for me, it's a great investment because it's helping me find the language and also refine my taste as it relates to things that I like. And when I start buying original pieces and spending lots and lots of money on art, it's giving me the tools and the language that I need in order to make sure that I am consuming what's best for me. And so I love it. It's a safe space for me. It's a space of peace for me, and I'm getting ready to go and do it all over again today at the expo, and I'm really excited because I enjoyed it on Thursday night. So that's it for today's Sunday chat. I feel like it's gonna be long because girl, I got to talk it, but I love doing these, and I appreciate y'all for asking. I appreciate y'all for asking the questions, because Auntie was like, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about this week, but I think We cover a great array of topics. And this also shows the girls that there is plenty to talk about outside of men. There is plenty to talk about outside of work. When people are like, what do you talk about? These are the things that you talk about. So write this down, take some notes. Like if you are looking for conversations to have with your friends that don't got nothing to do with a man or to do with work, or you have looking to have conversations with your man that ain't got nothing to do with work, or the drama that's going on with your friends, these are some topics that you can talk about. Y'all can thank the people on my Instagram for those though. Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in next week's video. Maybe we'll talk about that personal style, that wish list thing on next week, unless something more important, more dire comes up that we need to talk about. We'll see. I'll talk to y'all next week. Bye.